reflection.
Mohammed Khatib, thanks for talking to us and taking the time. The personal is political. Maybe we start with that. You're Palestinian, you're a refugee, you were born in a refugee camp. What can you tell us about that?
Hello, Peter. Thank you for this invitation and for the interview. I come from a Palestinian refugee camp called Al Halwi camp, which is in south of Lebanon, one of the biggest refugee camps in Lebanon. Originally, I come from Al Malaha village in Al Hula Valley, and up in the north of Palestine, close to the borders between so-called borders between Syria, Palestine, and Lebanon. So I come from this region in Upper Galilee in Palestine.
When did your family flee Palestine?
My family came to Lebanon in 1948 with the other tens of thousands of Palestinian people who were uprooted from their homeland. Part of my family came to Lebanon. Other part of our family went to Syria, like many others' families as well. So the family itself was divided between Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, from my father's side and from my mother's side.
What can you tell me about your childhood or your youth? I imagine you didn't need much political schooling to become aware of your position.
I mean, we grew up in refugee camps, which is a very politicized environment. Also, the situation of the Palestinian people in Lebanon, it's a bit different from the situation of other Palestinian refugees in Jordan or in Syria, specifically, in terms of rights. We know that the Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, since day one of being refugees in Lebanon, they are struggling for every single right. And until today, meanwhile, we are doing these interviews, Palestinians in Lebanon, we have no right to work, no right for ownership. You cannot practice any profession. The refugee camps are sieged by the Lebanese army with checkpoints and apartheid walls, I call it, and fences. Anytime you have to enter the camp or to leave the camp, you need permission. You need to be registered and checked by the army. If someone is wanted, but there is the same name, so you are always struggling at the checkpoints and so on. And we grow up in questioning all of this reality because we know as Palestinians, our enemy is the Zionist entity. So we never understood in our childhood why an Arabic army treating us the same way that the Zionist army treating the Palestinian people, until we grow up and we know that the enemy of the Palestinian people is not only the Zionist enemy, but also the Arab reactionary regimes, fascist, racist reactionary regimes, sectarian regimes, was established by the colonial power, by the French and the British and so on. So I can say, since it's the movement in and out the camp, it's very difficult. The camp was always Little Palestine. All of our families participated in the first Palestinian modern revolution after 67. All of our uncles, members of the family, they were members of all, literally all, the Palestinian factions. I have aunt from the FLP, she's ex-political prisoners. I have two uncles from Fatah. I have one uncle from my father's side. He is in the Liberation Front for Palestine. My mother was involved in the youth movement and so on. Every single family in the refugee camps in Lebanon or Syria or in Jordan contributed to the struggle with a martyr, with injured person, with a missed person. I grew up with a story in our family that our oldest uncle disappeared in the Lebanese civil war. We have only one picture for him. So every house is an office of a political organization. You have pictures on the walls for martyrs, for ex-prisoners. You see injured people who still suffer until today from their injuries, either in the 70s or 80s, or even in the 90s, and the camps, the war by the Lebanese right wing, and so on. So it was a very politicized environment. We see Palestine by the falafel shop called Al Aqsa or Al Quds, the school called Bisan. Every school is named on a destroyed villages, or every canteen or grocery store carry a name of a village or a city in Palestine. So Palestine is alive. I was born in the 90s. So they call us Oslo generation. So we were born in a time with the defeat of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, going to Oslo, then the PA, and so on. So the political parties and organizations in the camps were struggling to survive and to keep this national spirit and the spirit for return, liberation, and so on. So there is many great cultural institutions, youth organization that helped us to develop our thought, our knowledge. Uh, I grew up attending UNRWA schools, United Nations Aid for Palestinian Refugee Schools, which is we call it little prisons. The idea of these schools was not to educate the Palestinian people, but to make them illiterate, not in terms of reading and writing, but in terms of knowledge we study. I never had a history class. It doesn't exist in the Onolwa school system. We cannot learn about our own history. We know many teachers, especially from the progressive movement, from the left movement, who were employed as Palestinian teachers in the Onolwa school and who go against the rule of this school. And they taught us about Palestine, about the borders with Palestine, about Camp David, about Oslo, about Wadi Araba, and all of this, about the 67 war, about the 48. Many of them, they were expelled from their positions. They were expelled from their jobs. And this crisis is still until today. Few months ago, few Palestinians, patriotic, very important teachers were expelled from their jobs in the UNRWA schools because of their political activism and their involvement socially within the Palestinian community in the refugee camps. So, in this kind of ongoing battle or festival for Palestine, this is where we grow up.
Hmm.
And we are not far away from our homeland. My camp is literally far 1.5 hours to 2 hours by car to
Hmm.
my village.
You said a lot of the countries, Arab countries, regimes are colonial themselves and racist. And logically, Palestinians are often very politicized. Is that why they are not welcomed in neighboring countries?
I mean, they are not colonial states. They were established as regimes by the colonial powers. Yes, of course. I mean, this strategy of siege and segregation, the Palestinian people are facing it since 1948 from many different Arab countries to make the life of the Palestinian people difficult to move, to travel, to have a documents, to have a resident permit, to study even. This is a systematic campaign to make the Palestinians busy with their daily life needs, needs of medication, needs of food, aid, and so on, to make them busy from struggle, to make them busy from contributing in building the Palestinian National Liberation Movement. But also they failed. The Palestinian people also proved the opposite, and they always fought back in Jordan. When the Jordanian regime committed massacres against the Palestinian resistance movement and the Palestinian refugee camps in Black September. We speak about massacres also took place in Lebanon, like Sabra and Shatila, Tal Zatar, and Nabati camp, and so on. Many of these massacres was not only committed by the Zionists themselves, or only it was also in collaboration with the Arab reactionary regimes. And we see this regime's role still until today, represented by Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and so on. And this role is not only against the Palestinian people. They are playing the same role against any people in the region who dare to resist and to fight back. They are doing the same with the people of Yemen. They are doing the same with the people of Sudan. They did the same in Iraq, and so on.
Yeah. We noticed also in Egypt when we tried to do the global march to Gaza, where security services of the CCM regime were very repressive, not only towards us, but mainly towards their own population.
Definitely. I mean, we don't know how many political prisoners there are in Egypt today, but I can assure you there are thousands of political prisoners. The level of repression by this fascist puppet Abdel Fattah al-Sisi regime is very high. We don't know how many Palestinian and Arab political prisoners they are in the prisons of Saudi Arabia and Emirates. The level of repression in the Arab world by this puppets regime to the Zionist movement and to the imperialist power, they are part of the enemy of the Palestinian people. And that's why my political education in the camp, for example, in the youth organizations, in the cultural centers, when we learn who is our enemy, we know very well that our enemy is the Zionist movement, is the Western imperialist capitalist power that is supporting the Zionist movement, and the Arab reactionary regime, and the list goes on more to the Palestinian bourgeoisie who have interest also for the occupation to remain in Palestine. So the enemy camp is big.
The period you're talking about, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, is also a period where the solidarity movement was very strong internationally with Palestine, where people from all over came to training camps, for instance, in refugee camps. Not only Palestinians or Arabs, but also other anti-colonial struggles, people from Europe, Latin America, even from Japan. Can you tell something about that movement, the strong international movement willing to take up arms on an international level?
Yeah, I mean, we grow up with these comrades and people. Two aunts I have, they are married to Tunisians because not only they came to take up arms, but one of them, he was member in the DFLP and he was a doctor. He was working on the medical front. If we go as a children's every occasion to the cemetery of the martyrs, we read the names of Kurdish, Japanese, and we see this as part of our society, and we see those people also as part of the Palestinian identity. We don't see them also only as an internationalist who came to support us, but anyone who took part or taking part in the Palestinian struggle, they are part of the Palestinian broader identity, which is an identity based on liberation and freedom and anti-racism and anti-colonialism. So this internationalist movement was very much present in the art sector. This is when we speak about Mark Rudin, about prisoners, about martyrs, freedom fighters, doctors, social workers. In one of the cultural centers where I grew up, I was taught by a Cuban woman. Her name is Valentina. She married to a Palestinian man in Cuba, and she came to the refugee camps to take part of the struggle. So we grow up with a very internationalist Arab revolutionary environment in a very harsh time and difficult time because, again, I was born in 90, so 90s and above, it was a very difficult moment for the Palestinian people.
It has changed, obviously. Can you tell us where the change came from, why it stopped?
I mean, the Palestinian struggle changed, so the needs changed. I do believe when the PLO and Arafat signed the Oslo Accord, uh, moved back to Palestine, occupied Palestine, building the so-called Palestinian Authority. Many of the Palestinian factions, Palestinian political organizations, recognized that the struggle must be inside Palestine and not out outside Palestine. There is different opinions and thoughts within the Palestinian National Liberation Movement. But I can say that it didn't stop. It changed. It took different faces and dynamics. I think many people who are leading the flotilla today from Italy and from Greece and from other countries, they are not far from this political movement and political line to support the Palestinian people struggle in a logistical way and in many different ways.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's stopped. It took different forms and it changed.
That's interesting because a lot of the people I met around the flotilla, they're saying, we're not necessarily pro-Palestinian. It's not about the Palestinian people as such. It's about a struggle against Zionism, which is a different angle for the same struggle. Because we all know that not all Jewish people are Zionists. We have a lot of Jewish friends or organizations who are in the same struggle. But today it becomes very clear that not all Zionists are Jewish.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you have Zionism seems to have been implemented in other countries.
Yeah.
It is very strong, even with non-Jews and not evangelical Christians,
course.
because we knew that before.
I mean, this pro-Palestinian, I mean, Palestine is not a football team to be pro-Palestinian. I mean, sometimes, unfortunately, even in Belgium, for example, when they speak about Samidoun, which is a Palestinian Arab internationalist organization, or me, myself, as a Palestinian, while I'm facing repression, they call me pro-Palestine. But I'm not a pro anyone. I am part of the Palestinian struggle, and even if I am not Palestinian by identity, and I'm not by identity, I don't have any documents to prove that I am Palestinian. I have documents to prove that I am a refugee, which is different. I don't carry any PA passport or an ID card. But this labeling people as pro-Palestine or not pro-Palestine, I think it's wrong. I agree with this, that we are in this struggle, which is anti-colonial, anti-Zionist, anti-imperialist, anti-Arab reactionary, and it's a struggle for liberation and against racism and white supremacy. So it's much deeper than to say pro-Palestine or not, of course.
It has a lot of similarities with liberation struggle elsewhere, notably in Basque country. Certainly, if you talk about you don't have to be Palestinian to join the struggle. People from elsewhere can join the struggle and become part of the Palestinian liberation and community as well. So it's not about blood and earth only.
Of course, I mean, that's why in 67, after the birth of the modern Palestinian revolution, the Palestinian Liberation Movement proposed a clear solution to the so-called conflict in Palestine, which is one free democratic Palestine where everyone can live in equality and justice, and to include all of these forces that is fighting for free Palestine, because free Palestine for us, it's a liberation project that also will have a role after liberation, after dismantling Zionism and after freeing Palestine. What Palestine we want? What kind of a country? That's why, for example, we are talking in a moment like in Belgium or Spain or other countries saying, oh, we will recognize the state of Palestine. Palestinian people, we never fought for a state. It's up to the Palestinian people to establish whatever kind of a system they want over their sovereign land, and after they are free from Zionism and colonialism, from racism, from white supremacy. We need to dismantle all of these until we can have a free Palestine. But then what role free Palestine should do? I think free Palestine from the river to the sea should ensure equality and justice for all Palestinians, but also specifically for more than 8 million Palestinians in diaspora. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. It's a project about equal healthcare and popular and democratic education for everyone. Free Palestine from the river to the sea must welcome all political refugees and asylum seekers. Free Palestine from the river to the sea must train and support every national liberation movement will keep fighting and struggling against racism and colonialism. Because many people also do this mistake by saying, oh, Palestine is the last occupation in the world, or Palestine is the last colony in the world, and that's why we need to dismantle it. But this is not true. We are still in a period where the French state is still a colonial state and still have many colonies in the Caribbean, the Kanaki. Many people are struggling still under these French colonies to have their liberation. The struggle in South Africa is not finished, and it must be continued, and land distribution and equal right and wealth distribution should be done, and black people should have their full rights, not only their political and social rights, right? Uh, and goes the same in the region. In my opinion, Jordan is not free. Egypt is not free. Saudi Arabia and Emirates, all of those are still a postmodern colonies for the imperialist powers, for the United States, UK and Europe, but managed in a new modern way by using some Arab puppets. As Zionism need to be defeated, imperialism need to be defeated, those Arab puppets regime need to be defeated. And as the Palestinian people should be free, all the people of the region should be free, and every community around the world struggling against colonialism and imperialism must be free. In the United States, when we speak about the black people and the indigenous people, in Latin America, when we speak about working class and indigenous people, in Asia, in the Arab world, and so on.
No. A Palestinian state is not the end of the struggle, but a two-state solution seems to be totally impossible. Now European countries are willing to recognize Palestine at a moment, you could say, when it has become unrecognizable, because there's not much left to recognize, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, we don't care about European recognizing Palestine. And Europeans are not the center of the world. And it doesn't really mean to us if the UK or Spain recognize Palestine or not. Maybe this could be interesting for a few Palestinian businessmen who want to do import and export with the UK and with the Spain, but not to the Palestinian people. Those states must be taken to the court because they are complicit in the genocide. Those states are still funding Israel and supporting Israel with weapons. And we do believe every single change in this position is not because those people are ethical, but this is because of the popular pressure and the mass movement that is standing in solidarity with Palestine. So for sure, we must differentiate when we speak about the Spanish state or the Spanish people. The Belgian state, which is led by Arizona far right-wing government, or the Belgian people who proved during these 2 years, or I can say since the 60s, in building a brave, amazing solidarity with the Palestinian people in every sector. Welcoming Palestinian refugee in many different ways, sending aid and delegations and artists and doctors and nurses to the camps to Palestine, supporting Palestinian cultural centers and NGOs, and supporting the Palestinian political prisoners movement and so on. This is the people that are supporting us. We are very proud and happy and thankful to see the Palestinian flag everywhere. You cannot take any public transportation today in Belgium without seeing a child or a woman or a man without a kufiya. Palestine is there by the people, and they are the one who are doing this pressure. The workers who are refusing to load the Israelis' weapons, or the workers in Zaventem airport who take an action, or in the harbors and so on. This is the forces we rely on, and this is the kind of solidarity we are looking for. But this superficial state recognition, I mean, Palestine is recognized by more than 160 states. Palestine is recognized in the United Nations more than Israel. But this doesn't make any difference. I think what is needed today, even in this diplomatic state level, is to bring back the discussion that the Zionist movement was recognized by the United Nations as a racist movement, and this must be done again, and to open this discussion and debate back. State of Israel must be expelled from the United Nations. Israeli Zionist embassies must be closed in those countries and be recognized as an offices for a terrorist state operations. Those people, if we speak about the role of the Zionist embassy in Brussels, they killed Naim Khader in Belgium. We need justice for Naim Khader, even if it's after a long time. We will never forget or forgive those people who were complicit in the assassinations of tens of Palestinians, artists and writers and intellectuals and political leaders who were assassinated in Greece, in France, in Italy, in Belgium, and elsewhere. This is the Zionist state of Israel and how it operates in Europe, and the level of actions that we expect. It should be on those crimes, but not to say state recognitions on two-state solution or on a leftover piece of land. Because again, the struggle of the Palestinian people is not about piece of land. And the aggressions of the Zionist entity is outside of Palestine and much bigger than Palestine. And we see this in the last few weeks. Israel attacks more than 6 countries in the region, from Iran to Qatar to Syria to Lebanon to and so on. So Israel is a threat on the people of the region and on every country around.
On a personal level, you came to Belgium in 2010. You got your papers as a refugee 2015. Why did you come to Belgium and how?
Why I came to Belgium? I mean, because I didn't have many options. I left Lebanon as a political refugee. I couldn't stay for security reasons in Lebanon. Then I was pushed to Turkey. I did the same path as any migrant from Turkey to Greece at that time. I couldn't stay in Greece because there was no even asylum service where you can apply for asylum and so on. I was lucky that I met in my childhood in the camp from the international delegations we are speaking about, great comrades that they were, some of them were from Belgium, and they welcomed me in Brussels and they took care of me, let's say.